Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Lord Bagg.
It's just us two for a while. It's back to the old days. It's just us two, and then Millard will push his way in and boss us around.
Yeah, he'll use his sharp tongue for about 45 minutes and go get on his bike. Hopefully, stay upright.
We should get him a Peloton so he stays inside.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with him yesterday because I'm up in the Great White North. So,
you're up in Terrace. You're up in Terrace. Tell everybody you're up in Terrace.
Yeah, I'm up here visiting my mom and my brother and nieces and nephews. And I was watching the Canucks. I watched, of course, you get Hockey Night in Canada. You can pick your Canadian team. So I watched Pittsburgh, Montreal, a bit of Toronto and St. Louis, and then was Ottawa and Seattle, I think, and then the late game was San Jose and Vancouver. So I listened to the Golden Knights game on the radio and had the Vancouver game volume down so I could keep track of what's going on.
You call me ADD?
No, because here's the deal: I have to actually participate here soon, so I want to listen. I want to listen to what's going on. I love John Shorthouse, and that's Dave Tomlinson's now the color guy with the Canucks broadcast. So we love Short. He's been there a long time. Dave does a good job. So I wanted to listen to part of the Utah-Vegas game too, just so I kept up on what was going on and tendencies, obviously. And I mean, we're at the home of where I started listening to radio, hockey on the radio with Jim Robson. I think back in the day, CKNW, and I'm almost sitting in the same seat. I probably am in my mom and dad's, my mom's kitchen, where I used to tune in and listen to Jim Robson, greatest play-by-play guy in the history of play-by-play, or one of them. He's right there. Hey, Jim Robson was the best. So
he was awesome. So I met him. I did a luncheon for the Vancouver Canucks alumni a couple 5 years ago, and he was there, and he said, "Oh, I looked you up on the internet," and I said, "This is going to be interesting."
He's a classic guy that
great voice
left, and he had such a caring call. Like he'd say hello to all the shut-ins and people that couldn't get out to hockey games. That was his signature. But he was like a Vin Scully. Like if you love baseball, Vin Scully would tell a story. Jim Robson was so good at calling the play-by-play. And he left, in my opinion, when he was at the top of his game. And, he's still revered in these parts as he should be.
As he should be. I remember, and tell me if I'm out of control here, but I remember listening to the radio one night and listening to a Vancouver Canucks game, and you and a couple other guys were interviewed on it when you were playing in Kelowna, I think. Am I wrong?
You know what? I don't remember.
Oh, so I might remember.
It could have been. My memory's good. It's just not long. So
I remember.
I don't remember
because I was listening to it on the radio where he had the one headpiece that went in. I was listening to on that while I was taking out the garbage out the front while it was cold. I was wearing shorts and my dad's boots, and I kept yelling out, "Freeze!" I was just doing this, "Freeze!" Right? As I was taking the garbage out, and somebody was breaking into the neighbor's car, and they put up their
no way.
They put up their hands like this, and I said, "Oh, hi," and he looked at me and just started running down the street.
And the other neighbors were like, "There's Gary and Robin's boy out there talking to himself again."
Yeah, that's base.
Today's yelling at himself. Hey, how many people though? And I used to do it too. You're like, "Hey, take the garbage out." So instead of putting your own shoes on, you put your dad's shoes on, right?
Yeah.
where like my
The big
dad's
old work
shoes were like
boots.
size 13. I'd be
Yeah.
out there trudging out there in the snow, taking the garbage out. Like talk about a recipe for disaster. That's awesome.
Recipe for
So,
disaster.
see, you made a citizen's arrest without making the citizen's arrest.
Yeah, and then he just ran down the street in the snow. It was snowing. It's probably like mid-December or something like that, you know, and he's running down the street. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm like, Joe from next door's got some weird friends.
it never dawned on you until years later. You're like, huh,
It's
I
probably
guess that
about a
guy was
week.
trying to steal that car. Or maybe he's
I
just
think
trying to
after
break
something
in.
else got stolen on the street, I was like, oh, maybe that guy was breaking into the car. I love it. So what did you
No, I
think?
don't remember that. I don't
What
remember
did you?
that. But
So you listened to the radio. Who called it on the radio for Vegas?
Dan Duva and Gary Lawless. And
Oh,
Dan had a great call the other night. And Gary, I gotta give Gary credit.
he's a
Gary
talker.
was talking about the I give Gary credit. This was the call of the year. Carlson and Pearson and I think it's Holtz is playing with them right now. He's like, oh, they haven't had much puck luck tonight, but they've been all over it. No more than 15 or 20 seconds. And he says, look out for them. 15 or 20 seconds later, Carlson scores. I'm like,
so
Gary,
funny.
go buy a lottery ticket. That was the call of the year. Like he was
He
all
knows.
over it. So, you know what? I'll listen to them quite a bit when I don't, and people go, why don't you just pick it up in your phone? I'm like, because I was at home, wanted to watch the Canucks at the same time. But yeah, I try to watch with Dan and Gary. That's kind of my connection to the what's going on with the VGK when I'm on the road, because when I get to do stuff with them, when I can't watch them on TV, I want to know what's going on and trends and who does what. And so I got some good stuff from the other night from them. So we're all good. And then that way, when Millard says something to me, I can respond.
That's great. You know what you should do? You should let people know on your plane when you're flying. You should say, it's going to take us about 4 hours to get out to Boston from Las Vegas today. And here's a little bit of a clip from just play your intros, your intros and outros of the game. And here's your Vegas Golden Knight knowledge from your pilot, Jeff Sharples.
I was gonna
give me a great garbage bag.
Yeah. First of all, we got a great garbage bag up front for all of the stuff we throw away. But you know what's funny is I could give them a little clip. I would watch Calgary a lot, and obviously I always watch Vancouver and some. Been watching Pittsburgh a bit, but what I could give them a clip on is the intro to our podcast.
Oh, that'd be good.
Two boys from the village of Terrace, British Columbia. It's like,
hey,
before we start the flight, hey, here's something I want to play for you. I could just see people dinging the thing. We'd like to get off now. We're good.
Awesome. I was watching the game on Saturday night in between shows. I started watching the Vancouver game, and I put it on in the green room, and I didn't have John with me. I was using the fellas from the club, and you know they weren't up on the hockey, but they liked it. And the one guy's watching and goes, how many different terms they have for getting into a fight? Because they're having a little bit of a kerfuffle. Oh, they're not getting along. I loved it. It was so good. Yeah. After I noticed that, it was like, oh.
That is pretty funny. That's so true. Oh, they're talking about where they're going to have dinner later. It's just like, but I that's one of my favorite things. So I know we talked about it last week, and so we have to push out the edges of what we talk about. But the look on some of the comedians' faces and the people who are with them when they go into the room, they're like, "Oh, hockey." And some of them will watch for a minute, but you can tell like a lot of them have no idea. And then some are like intrigued. And so it's so different than any other room they've probably ever been in, because you and your writer, hockey or Family Guy.
Hockey or Family Guy. I love it. It was a good week for hockey this week, I watched a lot of games this week, so I was pretty happy about it. I got about 3 in.
Well, it's a good week for hockey because OV's starting to get going.
Yes.
Millard called that. So if they said this weekend that if Ovechkin, for those of you who are not following as closely as everyone else, I think he's 36 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky for the all-time lead, and Gretz is at 894. And they said last night, on the pace he's on, he will go by Gretz in early April, which would be unbelievable. If he can get on a heater, and if he's going to break the record, which it looks like he will, it would be great, like Millard said, to have it happen. I would love to see it on the push up to the playoffs. And Washington's no joke, man. Those guys are flying around, scoring a ton of goals this year. So it's good for the game because you lost one of your superstars for a few weeks with McDavid. Draisaitl is on a mission. He just dominated Calgary Edmonton last night.
Sure did.
Oh my goodness, that guy. So Edmonton looks like they're kind of figuring it out now. And then when McDavid comes back, I mean, that's like adding 3 players to your lineup that can score all in one. Insane. It's crazy. So
yeah, I was thinking about how good they are. You know what's something that happened this week that I think the NHL dropped the ball in? I had no idea the Panthers and Dallas were in Finland.
Yeah.
How is that not a big deal that nobody didn't know was happening?
Well, and you've got the superstars from Barkov and Hintz. I mean, Barkov and Rope Hintz that are over there, and Heiskanen. And I agree. I look at my phone. I'm like, oh, 9 a.m.
Yeah, I was so confused.
That's right. They're like 9 Pacific time. They're over and playing in, where is it? Helsinki. They were over in Finland. And there's 2 things that happen with these series that they do overseas. The NFL, it took them a while, but the NFL is getting better and better at it. Now that the NFL plays 17 games, they're like, well, this is an easy one. You're either going to play 8 on the road, 8 at home and 9 on the road, or 9 at home, 8 on the road. So Europe and play the game, and so you both get your 8 home games, and then we try to sell a game to the European market. The NHL, to me, they sent Buffalo and New Jersey over to start with, and everybody's kind of like, what? And we're still playing preseason over here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you send over Dallas and Florida and you play them back to back, in my opinion. And maybe there was soccer or something else going on over there, some big sport that pushed them. If you're going to play them, they got to get over there and practice. I know it takes a week out of their schedule, but play them, have a day off, and then play them again. Because what's happened both times is the team that won the first games won the second game, and I just don't know. And the difference around is everything else. If the team that lost, and it was Dallas and Buffalo that lost, had enough time to kind of recalibrate. So you play your first game, you day off just like you normally do in the NHL, and play your second game. You know what I mean? And you have time to build.
You know what it is? They're busy trying to time it. They're trying to rush them back and time them out, and they don't think about how they should do it. You know, like I don't know.
They're thinking Friday, Saturday too, which I totally understand. But I think you lose some of the I want to say bite, shine, yeah, because like what I'd like to see is Dallas is a unbelievable team. Florida got them game 1. Okay, give them day 2. Like, okay, so you play Thursday, or you play Thursday or Friday to start over there. So you play Thursday night, practice Friday, play Saturday, then you come back, or you play Friday, practice Saturday, play Sunday afternoon, come back. I know why they're playing at night, because they want to have some North American audience watching them. But I just think a day between games, and obviously you're going to lose a Friday or a Saturday, which are big draws and people's weekends. But I just feel that that they still are trying to round off the edges of what those series over there are going to look like. But ultimately, what you'd really like to see when you have 2 marquee teams like Florida and Dallas is you'd like to see them both go 1-on-1, or 1-0-on-1, where both games go to a shootout or overtime, but didn't happen. So good for Florida. They look like one of the elite teams in the league again.
Sure do look good. Like they don't look like they're hungover at all. It's pretty impressive. I do like Ottawa. Ottawa's looking really good.
Ottawa looked great. When I saw him in Vegas, um, there's a difference between deserving better and earning better. I thought for 55 minutes of the Vegas game, they'd earned, or maybe 54 earned, 2 points. They played really well, and then Vegas just stormed them at the end and came back, and they couldn't even get it to overtime. But Ottawa is fast, and I love the way Travis Green has them playing. So I pulled for Greeny. I played with him. I think he's a really, really good coach, and I really like what he's doing. And Brady Tkachuk got interviewed the other night after the game and said, "Hey, we're tired of next year or tomorrow," saying that around here. We're today, and I think Greeny's a great guy to be able to push the gas pedal down and get a lot more out of those guys, and it shows. I think, you know what, right now I would say, if you asked me, I'd say wild card team for sure. Ottawa, mark them down.
Ottawa wild card team, Jeff Sharples, November.
Yeah, you heard it here first. I might put that in the announcement before we push back.
That'd be great if that was one of your announcements.
Yeah, just so you know, Ottawa's going to be a wild card team.
Emergency doors on each side, and Ottawa at the front, getting into the wild card spot.
And Ottawa, yeah, they're going to kick the door down and get in.
Speaking of wild card, guess where there's an extra emergency exit on this plane? Oh my God. Toronto, I watched a little bit of Toronto, St. Louis. Toronto, St. Louis. I don't know. Toronto doesn't play a full game, do they?
It's going to take some time for them, but
yes. So it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
It is going to take some time. So Luciano, stay calm, keep your fingernails painted and your toenails painted, wear blue and white. But it's just, do they have to move some guys out of there, or they just have to learn?
I think it's, that's the thing when a new coach comes in and things don't go exactly according to plan. Now, they're not dragging along the bottom. They're just, people were, thinking, oh, we'll just, Coach Berube's going to come in and they're going to flip the switch. Right. They looked like a Hall of Fame team in the first period against St. Louis, and then St. Louis flipped the script on them in the second and played really well. The issue with when you are instituting new things, it's almost like learning a new language. Like there's times when you're like, oh, you're really picking up on it, and then there's times you just can't say the words. And I guess that's probably in the English language too. But I think with Toronto,
that's really funny.
They are picking up on what he's putting down, right? But it's going to take some time. It's like you just don't snap your fingers. And this team's been playing a certain way for a long time, and it's going to take time. Sometimes, you've probably found it in life where you do one thing for a long time, and then you have to kind of change and do it another way or something different, and you revert back to the way you used to do things. And so
it takes a while to form a habit, right?
Yeah. And they're working on it, I think. And too bad Millard's, I don't know if he's going to get on with us today or not, but I listened to Millard the other night with, he does a radio show. I was driving, we're going to grab a bite to eat. So I turned on and Millard was on, and John Shannon from Sportsnet was on, and we got to see if we can get John on one day. This guy's a hockey encyclopedia, and he was talking about teams in the NHL, and they were talking about elite teams and teams that are kind of more towards the mushy middle. Now, you have a few teams that are not even close to the mushy middle on the bottom, but you have so many other teams that would be considered maybe upper middle or lower middle, but they're in the middle. And then you look around the NHL, you go, well, how many teams do we have that are truly elite teams right now? And he said, roughly, say last year at one point, you could say, well, there's maybe 10 or 12 teams that you would consider serious contenders for the Stanley Cup. Now, I know we're only 12 games in, but he goes, this year, he goes, I might take that down to 6, maybe 8. And I thought, that's it's kind of a bold thing to say, but this guy knows his stuff. And if you look around, LB, give me give me your elite teams in the league right now. How many do you have?
That. You got so you've got the Panthers are elite right now. You said Dallas you thought was elite, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Winnipeg's
Edmonton?
elite.
Winnipeg.
Edmonton's coming back, but they've kind of been middle-ish. Now they're
But
6-2-1.
I say they're elite because of what Draisaitl's doing without McDavid.
Yeah, and so you could throw, but that's the thing. Edmonton's coming out of the upper middle right now again. Like they were kind of started the season in the middle. They were 0-3, wasn't great. Now they've kind of turned it around. Like you look at a team like Vegas, a team that has a good record, but would you put them in the elite category? There's some more things that have to fall into place. Vancouver's another one. I'd probably put the Rangers in there, right? As an elite team. And so Winnipeg, Florida, and the Rangers right now. Trying to think of who I'm missing. Colorado, right? They're not there.
No,
so
they're not there. No.
So I guess what I'm saying is it also, so it's gonna make for unbelievable.
Where does Ottawa?
Races.
What do you think Ottawa is? Ottawa is upper middle, right?
They're trending out of the middle into the upper middle. There's no question about it. In my mind, I'm not going to put them up there with those other teams at this point, but I think if they on the trajectory they're on, trying to think of some other teams.
Carolina's been pretty good.
Carolina's came out west. New Jersey kind of, but again, they're in Edmonton.
Vancouver, then lose Calgary, right?
Yeah, and the way they lost in Calgary late, you're kind of like, upper echelon teams, and I think New Jersey's a really good story. And our boy Ryan McGill, Gilly's out there doing his thing again this year. So we pull for them.
How about Minnesota? Minnesota would be elite right now.
Yeah, you would, and no one expected them to be there. So
no.
Anyways, there's you look and go, well, there's only a couple elite teams, but it's only November, right? So what this is going to happen, I think, is it's going to make the maybe second, third spots, but definitely third wild card races incredible as we get around the holidays and into the new year. And by the way, the holidays started for us this year. October, was it 10th or 11th?
16th.
Canadian Thanksgiving. Remember that?
Canadian Thanksgiving, the best holiday of all of Canada that nobody knows about. Let's go back to that Toronto game though. I felt like St. Louis had something to prove more than Toronto. Like they got Berube coming back and they're kind of like, there's enough guys there that go, hey, let's win this game and say that we won the Stanley Cup, not the coach won the Stanley Cup. What do you think of that? Because of the way it switched after the first period.
Yeah, the way the game started, you were like, it was crazy. But
Thank God Pacioretty got some shots off, made sure the boards were up.
Braden Shen, any of the Shen boys are just unbelievable. They must be great teammates. But he's still there. He's their captain now. He was there for the Stanley Cup. Bennington. Parenko was just unbelievable, and look for him as a possible Team Canada for the Four Nations guy that comes in off the top rope. He looked phenomenal. But yeah, St. Louis, I would say there's things about them that I really like, and give their general manager credit. He went out and got Broberg and Holloway from Edmonton on those offer sheets. Now, hopefully Broberg's okay because he got hurt the other night. But just adding those two young guys into the mix and that freshness, and some of their vets getting going again. And Bennington's playing well. So, yeah, I don't know. St. Louis is really always kind of great sports city, right? Like as far as really support the Blues and the Cardinals, baseball. Interesting to see what that team does, because I don't think a lot of people have said, well, St. Louis is going to be an upper echelon team, but I've watched them play a few times this year and I've been impressed. I watched them open the season in Seattle, watched them in Vegas, and then watched them the other night. And give Bannister credit. He's done a good job, and you're right. The guys that are left over from when Coach Berube was there and they won the cup are leading the way. So things are looking up in St. Louis.
Let's go to Seattle. Now, you brought up Seattle. Seattle's struggling a little bit. Nothing really different there with what was going on under Hackstall. It seems like maybe the coach wasn't the problem. I don't know.
I watched them play Ottawa, and I watched them yesterday play Boston. And one of the things, and it was last year too, is they need to find a way to create more offense, right? Because Boston was all over them in the first period last night, went up 2-0. And I think, what did it end up? 2-0, or it might have been an empty net goal for 3-0.
I think it stayed at 2-0. I think it's
2-0. So they could. So here's what I'd like to see in Seattle. I'd love Montour's come in and provided that kind of. This guy's really elevated his game over the course of time, and he's a real joy to watch. I love watching him play. Chandler Stevenson came in from Vegas, and you know what? He's off to a decent start, but probably needs a little bit more from him. But the young guy Beniers, I'd like to see him shoot the puck more. I think Seattle, because goals sometimes, and this might be totally offside, so it just uses it as general information, but teams that have a tough time scoring sometimes pass up shots because it's in their head. They're like, they, instead of just throwing pucks at the net and going and crashing the net, they end up trying to overpass. And guys in the NHL are so quick laterally and so good with their sticks at knocking stuff down, that it's really tough to pass it into the net in the NHL. So I would like to see Seattle throw more pucks at the net. No
more Mr. Nice Guy, Seattle. Don't try to pass it and be polite and give it to your other guy. Oh, shoot. Come on, be greedy. Patch your idiot. Shoot it when you get a chance.
Yeah, you know what? They need Patches out there, because you give him the puck, he ain't giving it back to you. He's shooting it, and
it doesn't matter. He can be at their own goal, like their own goal line. He'll shoot it at the right. He does as soon as it hits his stick.
Yeah, that's what they need in Seattle. I think I'd like to see them be more aggressive, throwing pucks at the net. But what's impressed me about Seattle is the support in the community, because I'm up in the Seattle area all the time. And you would have thought that the Kraken have been around for 20 years. So there's a lot to really like about what's going on in Seattle. Just like to see him score some more goals. That's it.
It's tough to be that market and be overshadowed by what went on in Vegas. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that they have been so supportive of that team.
They stand on their own. And, when you look at the success they get, when people talk about the success, they talk about Vegas and Seattle. Yeah, Vegas just went on a run like you wouldn't believe, and is still right in the middle of it. But Seattle, when they talk about success of these teams coming in, and really now, let's look at Utah, because the difference with Utah was they had players, but they're considered an expansion team too, or because this is the first time Vegas has ever played in Utah, or someone's ever played them. But there was a lot of unknowns going into the Salt Lake market too. And what the NHL's done is they've been able to add, or let's just say they've gone into 3 different markets in the last 8 years, because Vegas is 8, and they've hit a home run. Vegas is a home run, Seattle's a home run, and Utah's a home run. And now you start feeling good about yourself, and you're going, hey, can we step on the gas and get some expansion again? It's going to be interesting to see. I know. I think we play too many games as it is. I get it.
Apparently the viewership is down. That's what I've read. The viewership of hockey is down. And there was some sort of a complaint, and I can't remember where it was from, and I kind of agreed about it, is they got to get rid of the blackout games, right? Don't make people search for the game.
We've been saying this for years, and I'll give you an example of a different sport. Back in the day, I grew up a Dodgers fan, loved the Dodgers. Obviously, the Expos and the Blue Jays.
Congratulations.
Canada. Yep, and the Mariners, love them. But I used to. Oh yeah, hey,
you just picked like 8 teams. You just picked 8 teams. Hey, I'm a Dodgers fan, Mariners fan, Pittsburgh Pirates fan, also Expos fan, and also the Blue Jays fan. There's only one team I don't like, the Cincinnati team.
You should congratulate 12-year-old Jeff, because the Dodgers just won the World Series.
That's awesome.
But I remember but down in Vegas, years ago. So you had, I think it was Fox, wasn't it Fox that carried? Okay, you're just going to leave now. Was it Fox that carried the games back then? I think it was.
Baseball or football? What hockey?
Baseball,
what are we talking?
Fox, like local Fox, right? And so it would be 105 degrees, 110 degrees out on an afternoon, and the Dodgers would be playing, or in the evening, and I would watch. And then they got in a contract dispute with their carrier, and my neighbor, Rudy, great guy, like lifelong Dodgers fan, like true blue, blood Dodger blue. And Rudy
beat people up in parking lots. That's how much he loved the Dodgers.
No, he wasn't that kind of guy. He was a lover, not a fighter. Rudy Montoya, my neighbor, Rudy Montoya, great guy in Vegas for 20 years. He got all sour because I said, what happened to the games? He goes, they got in a fight over the contract, the Dodgers. So it's basically turned into pay-per-view. Well, that was it for me. I never really watched, it wasn't,
right.
I'd watch the Angels a bit, but I just was like, and then I kind of tailed off watching baseball. Right. And so what you're saying about the hockey is the same thing. Don't make people guess, because there's so much other stuff that's going, hey, over here, hey, over here, trying to grab your attention. Make it really easy for the fan that's maybe casual. Like if you're a huge, let's throw a team some love we haven't talked about much. A huge Chicago Blackout.
We talk about every team. Oh
yeah, but it doesn't matter. Or whoever, or Nashville Predator fan. You are going to find where they're playing, and you might have the hockey package or whatever. If you're just flipping through the channels and you don't want to watch whatever's on, well, you know what? If you have to go search for it, you're probably not flipping through and seeing, Anaheim and Colorado or somebody like that. So that's the thing. And I thought this years ago when we got ESPN back, I thought this is going to be so awesome. There's games on ESPN, but sometimes there's ESPN Plus. Well, again, now you're making people search for it. Don't make them search to be a fan. Just, you know what? Put it on, or put it on a channel that they can access easily. And I know there's a lot more to it than that. Keep it simple,
stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep
it simple. Yeah. Yes. You just make it easier for them to find them. If you have to share in some of the advertising money with because the big thing is some companies have bought the games, right? So they make sure that other places can't show them. Well, do some sharing of the funds, make it go around. I don't know. I just if yes, I'm just gonna fall apart here. I'm gonna give my speech.
You're getting a little choked up.
I'm getting choked up. I think it's just have some water, have some calm downness. I just think it's stupid that sometimes people will step over dollars to get to pennies.
Yeah.
Right. And it drives me nuts. And I'll tell you what. The best company in the world in my mind is right now. And I'm in Texas. Can you guess what company I'm thinking of?
Levi's jeans.
Levi's jeans. No. There's a place called Buc-ee's. Right? Have you heard of it? And they post what they pay out front of if you're looking for a job there. They tell you everything, like you're going to get retirement. They're going to match your 401k to 3% or whatever. And they pay people, and the manager starts out at $250,000 a year for a Buc-ee's and I'm like, and bottom is $20 an hour, like 18 or something like that. And I just that's how you get people to do things, is you share with them, and sharing the game is going to make more money in the long run rather than the short term. Right. So it gets frustrates me. And by the way, the best billboards, I love it. Buc-ee's puts billboards in different states that don't have Buc-ee's. 1,028 miles to Buc-ee's. I fucking love that. That's so good. That's some good marketing right there.
Yeah, that is good. But that's true, because it's right there in front of your face. You don't have to swipe for it. You don't have to go flip through the channels for it. It's like, now you might be not everybody's going to walk by Bucky's, but word travels fast. Hey, did you know you could make 250, or, not everyone's going to be a manager, but if you're looking for a job to be a server or whatever you want to do there, bartender, hey, I can make $30 an hour Bucky's plus tips or whatever it is. It's very easy to see. And then what that does is it puts it out there, and it kind of, again, with the hockey, we've come a long ways, right? It looks really good. Every team is worth over $1 billion, on and on. But I think
you want non-fans to be able to stumble across your game. That's what you want.
100%. And the other thing that they've done really well is they picked up the pace of the game. Like, I was sitting watching Calgary and Edmonton last night with my mom, and I was like, now some nights there's more whistles than others, but there's not a lot of scrums in the NHL anymore, which used to take up time. They're not separating guys out. And that game just whizzed by. There was some huge hits, some great scoring opportunities. I don't know if there was a scrap, but the thing about it is that hockey's done a good job realizing that they need to pick up the pace, and they need to get you in and out on the entertainment side somewhere between 2 hours and 15 minutes and 2.5 hours. That's normally where it ends up. Probably sometimes it might fall over. NBA is the same. So now, if you're doing other things, help yourself out where if the person can't go to the game or is in a market that doesn't have teams, they can find you. And because there's so much going on, especially there's like the NBA is on, you've got college football's on, the NFL's on, the playoffs in baseball just stopped. So you have some room there. And so you just, you have opportunity to plug yourself in, and in the grocery store, you go in and there's a bag of chips for 50 cents. Well, it's a loss leader, but what they're hoping that you do is go in and buy some milk or some ice cream or, something else with that. But that's what hockey needs to do is I agree with you. We need to make some of our games more accessible for the casual fan, so they'll go in and buy more. Hey, I have a question for you.
All right.
We're going to get to this question. Remember Brian asking us this question? I think it was at one of the weddings. And he was out the other day, and I texted him. I go, hey, Brian, I know it's probably been well over a year, but go ahead and send that question back to Ian and I. And he sent the question. So I'm just going to shorten it up here. But he said, how do you decide which way a kid shoots when they first start hockey? How do you decide what hand they shoot? Who decides that? Like whether they shoot right-handed or left-handed? Who decides that? Because
you look at I'll answer this question.
Okay.
You look in the league.
I asked you the question.
Well, you look in the league and you see who's making the most money, and you force your kid to. They're needed right-handed defenseman. You make them shoot right. It's your strong hand. It's it's whatever you write with whatever you hit a bat with. It's your strong hand. That's how you decide which way you shoot. How many guys have you run across that don't shoot with their strong hand? It always blew my mind. Every so often there'd be a guy that was a righty for everything else but would shoot left.
Well, that's me. I write with my right hand and shoot left-handed. So what
I just thought you were a complete weirdo. I thought you were always just a lefty, but I had no idea you're even weirder than weird.
I can sign my name left if I need to, but
wow, that was the weirdest humble brag I've ever been involved.
Yeah, no,
I could sign that.
It's gross, but I can do it. Here's the thing what Brian was saying though. He says normally, like, if you're right-handed, you'll throw a baseball right-handed. And then if you look at it though, most people that play golf, not all of them, but a lot of them are probably strong, like right-handed, but they so they swing right with their strong hand on the bottom of the club. But golf was one of those things where we don't have left-handers. So the majority of people who picked up a club were just given a right-handed club and gone, here you go. This is what you get to shoot with. So when I do learn to play, they give the kids a stick. They tape the stick up, but the stick is straight. So And you can tell some of them are fighting with it. Like, they're like, this doesn't feel right. Like, you can just tell they're like, they're trying to get used to having the stick in their hand. So it's like, hey, why don't you try this, your left hand on top, and see how that feels? And one of the big things in the NHL for years was lots of left-handed defensemen. They all wanted right-handed defensemen. What I see when youth hockey now, I see a whole slew, at least in the Vegas area, a whole slew of kids coming up shooting right, who are dominant right-handed. So I don't know if that answers the question, Brian, but I think the question, the answer that I would give is, we give them a straight stick.
Straight stick.
So they decide.
See which way they go. Yeah. That's interesting. Well, it's probably a little late for us. I was gonna say, it's a little late. The kid's shooting left, but he should be shooting right, because we haven't answered the question in a year. So we've ruined his career.
I cannot believe that we don't have a player that uses both hands. Like, I'll give you an example. You'll see a lot of backhand goals, or backhand shots. But could you imagine if the guy, it happens so fast, but if you could turn over and rip it forehand, awesome. So he was always on his forehand, left or right, but the curve would be the big issue there. So
some guys were just so impressive with their backhands. You're just like, those are just like really a lot of power out of a backhand. You're just like, that's incredible. But it's what they do.
Backhand is an art. If you can, like, most guys can throw the puck, like, sauce it 5-10 feet backhand, no problem. Put some air underneath it, but you throw it at the net. Draisaitl scored last night.
Picking corners with a backhand,
bar down. Very impressive. So, well,
very impressive.
I guess we should take this opportunity to thank Millard for showing up this week. I guess that meeting went a little longer, right?
I guess he might be in HR or something.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be joking.
Or maybe we should be concerned about him.
We should be texting and see if he needs some character witnesses for him.
He's probably fallen off his bike again, going from one room to another.
I wonder if he's ever fallen off the Peloton.
Probably gets all dizzy.
Woo! Yeah. So, hey, what's the date today? The 3rd?
November.
Or is it 4th?
Yeah. No, is it the 4th? No, tomorrow's the 4th, isn't it? No, tomorrow's the 5th.
5th. So that's right. Tomorrow's the 5th.
Tomorrow's when America shakes. This doesn't come out until the 6th, so it'll be backwards, right? So either this podcast is coming out and the whole place is on fire, or it's just another normal day.
Yeah. So we're not going to release this until Wednesday.
So we do it. I'm in Texas doing a show here. So we did this today on Monday, and then it comes out on Wednesday. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Good. I'm going to talk about this for a second too. I've had my poppy on, but my thing's
That's going to be your shout out.
Well, we're going to do shout outs.
You want to do shout outs?
Sure, we can. I mean, what do you want to talk about? We kind of answered Brian's question, but not really.
We did it all. Yeah, we got it. Let's wrap this up. Let's do some shout outs. You do.
We got to get over to A&W with my brother. So go have our coffee.
Coffee and a root beer.
Oh yeah.
Coffee and a root beer.
You know what A&W does have? Phenomenal root beer. And they also have gravy with their fries. And I know some people are like, oh, gravy with fries, try it. Before you judge it, try it. It's pretty good.
You haven't had gravy until you've had hamburger gravy.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, so I got my coffee. Oh, you're gonna go first?
No. I'll go in, but mine will move into the NW. So go ahead. You do your poppy.
Oh yeah. Well, that's I talked. That's one.
By the way, his poppy is sponsored by Nike.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, do you notice the jacket?
I seen it. I was like, oh, he's up north. He's wearing my jacket.
I wear it every day because I miss you.
Oh my God, I lost my headphone.
We're up north, so but I don't know if we're going to get the show on before next week, which is Remembrance Day up in Canada, Veterans Day in the United States. So a shout out to all of the vets that have sacrificed for people like you and I to be able to do stuff like we do. And their families, because that's a huge sacrifice too. So shout out to all the vets. And November 11th, please take a minute to think about the people that have sacrificed everything so we can live our lives for the most part the way we want, which is really amazing. So that's my shout out.
That's a good shout out. Mine involves a vet as well, and also an A&W OG and a hockey coach that I don't know if you had it all, but I did. And his name's Bob Dahl, and we lost him this week. And he was just a great guy. He how do I explain it? You know, people come into your lives and they just kind of shape you a little bit. He definitely shaped me. He was the funniest guy. He'd just walk in, say something, and leave. He wore these glasses that were they're tinted a little bit, just used to make me laugh. He lost his finger in a work accident, and he would make sure that he put that nub on you every time he seen you. He was one of those guys. And I had him as a coach from Pee Wee until I think all the way to midget. Like I'd have him every so often. Close family friends. Terry Dahl, his son Ronnie, we lost a couple years ago. Huge Philadelphia Flyer fan, but Bob fought cancer for quite a while, and he lost his fight this week, and we salute him. Bob Dahl.
Love Dahl.
Oh, love Dahl.